What's going on, everyone? This is Sheets, and I'm going to be doing our lineup construction video for UFC Seattle. And I have to say that I'm really kind of psyched about my ownership projections this week. I think they're pretty tight. And I actually like my actual median projections that I'm going to be basing my lineup runs on. So what that means is that the approach this week is going to be a lot more straightforward. The other thing it's going to mean is that we're going to be able to kind of look at the different metrics that we have access to that are dependent on getting decent ownership projections right, and we'll get into those as we get there. Um, so we'll dispense with who the good plays are. Honestly, I mean Anthony Hernandez is a good play. The uh, what Cejudo is a good play. Um, both fighters from the Kutalaba fight are good plays. What's his name? Basharat's a bad play. The Menafield play looks pretty good. So I mean, it's not difficult to find the good plays, but we're really just going to focus on the lineup construction here. So the first thing that we have to do is we uploaded our projections and all this stuff. So we're gonna uh, we're gonna build 5,000 lineups, and then we'll figure out what we're gonna do with them in a minute. So the one thing I did is when I uploaded my projections is I told SaberSim to save a contest field that reflects the ownership projections that I put in there because, like I said, I was very, very happy with my ownership projections. Okay. Um, Couple of things that I want to talk about before we start, with the metrics and all that stuff is as far as just pure fundamentals on this slate. Let me go over a couple of things that could work, but not really. So the first thing I want to deal with is this mid-range fight, the Costa versus Feely. You have Costa, he's projected at 61, and Feely's projected at 60. I guess that doesn't really work. I'm looking for one where the higher priced fighter is actually priced better. So this one's not going to work either. The Baron Dickoff versus what's his name? Vanderford. Vanderford's actually projected higher, even though he's a lower price. So that's not going to be applicable. Ah, trying to illustrate a point here. How about Kutalaba? Yeah, okay. So yeah, Ian Kutalaba, where is he? He's got a 52-point projection, and his opponent was somewhere. Aslan is like 71. I mean, like it's a much higher projection, but Kutalaba certainly has upside. Okay. So what you could do if you wanted to is you could play Kutalaba and leave like what's the difference between those two? 800 on the table. And Kutalaba is probably going to be somewhat popular. So if you do it that way, you get a really, really unique lineup. The problem with these techniques, though, if you're leaving too much on the table, is remember that 800 that you're going to leave on the table, it's not just that you're not getting to Aslan as opposed to um, Kutalaba, but also you're not getting to say Mansoor instead of some 9K guy, something like that. So it's not that easy. It usually only works when you're leaving a very small amount of money on the table and you're not really costing yourself upside at the other positions. Um, the other thing I would emphasize from a what's the word I'm looking for? From a leverage perspective, I will tell you right now, like what the best play on the slate is. Like if I didn't have an optimizer, if I didn't have a, the simulator or whatever, the best play GPP was on the slate, to me, it's pretty clearly Brandon Allen. And the reason for that is that Anthony Hernandez looks like an incredible play. And he is, right? He has like incredible ceiling, 160 point upside, whatever it is. He's going to be like insanely popular, and for good reason. So Brandon Allen, though, so when he wins, number one, he could score well, but number two, he's also going to get incredible leverage over Anthony Hernandez. And we talk. I think about the difference in someone like Brandon Allen and say Ricky Simone. It's kind of like a weird push pull because they both have pretty much the same odds to win. And the difference is on the one hand, Simone has more upside because in his wins, he almost always is going to get enough takedowns to score well. Where Brandon Allen does have some results where, like against Jacob Malkoun, where he just didn't score all that much. But the leverage you get by taking out all those Anthony Hernandez lineups is going to be very, very, very important. I don't think that anybody in the Cejudo Song fight is that great. They're both going to be pretty efficient. Both of these fighters, Aslan versus Kutalaba. I mean, I think they're both going to look good, and I don't think you're going to get past anybody there. Maybe Julius Walker could be a good bit of leverage there. So if you want to like look, you have Julius Walker, Brandon Allen, kind of uncomfortable type, plays. Um, so those would be my two, I guess, favorite leverage plays in general. So what that means is that if I get to those guys organically, I'm going to be especially happy about it. And if I have the opportunity to get myself more of them, I will. Because I tell you, I ran a build earlier today where I get almost no Jerry Allen, no Brandon Allen, and that's just not going to fly. I mean, I don't care what the Sims come up with here. I mean, there's no way that that's not like incredibly good leverage play. Both of those that I mentioned, Brandon Allen and I guess Julius Walker too. So I might do something I don't do too often is set a minimum of say 20% on both of those guys just to make sure they get a decent amount. All right, so let's run the Sims and let's run them against. Well, first, let's look what we have. Right, so we ran this, and it's listing it by MMA default. So MMA default again, what that is, if you click on the eyeball, the formula that defines MMA default is well, not to get too much into the weeds, but the important thing is number one, it does prioritize 99th percentile outcomes, and it does have, an ownership adjustment. So the point is that if you're confident in your ownership adjustments or your ownership projections, you can really lean on these types of metrics here. And this is actually a semi-aggressive, not the most aggressive, but a semi-aggressive um, uh, ranking system. So if you went through the MMA default, you'd be getting, all the Henry Cejudo, Abdul Malik. Now, the one thing I have, that's 40% Eric McConico. That's interesting. So that's one way that you can go. And you can tweak these settings if you want. So like, for example, I created this thing called Sheets Default, where instead of MMA defaults, Sheets default, if you look through at the pencil, whatever, it's similar, but instead it takes 0.3 from adjusted ownership. So it even does more of an ownership fade. So when you play, for example, like Sheets default, you're getting all the Modestus Bukauskas and Julius Walker and things like that. So this is much more aggressive than the MMA default. Now, if you even going to want to get more conservative, you'll go up to the Sim Diversity 10. So Sim Diversity 10 is probably the most conservative of the Saber Sim upside builds. And you'll see, I mean, like the exposure you get from this is all the great plays, that we all know and love, and what you're going to end up getting are lineups that just rate to be just incredibly high duped. Okay. And then that's just That's just the way it is. Um, so we're probably not going to take any from the Sim Diversity 10, but we might take a handful from MMA default and a handful from Sheets default because again, we're sort of comfortable with our ownership projections. But the other thing I do want to do is run the contest sims, and the question is going to be, what fields do we use? So we could use the regular Saber Sim, ownership fields. Like you'll look here, you have your choices, right? For the throwdown, you could choose flagship MME, like all these different fields lineups. But I think for this card, I kind of want to use mine, because I like my ownership projections. So if I like my ownership projections, then I should probably use that as my contest fields, right? So this is what I want to do. I want to kind of like combine like these things. So let's use the UFC Midnight one as the contest fields to run for that contest, and let's just hit it. And I'm sure that you'll see, some things change. I mean, you still have, getting good plays here, but now you are, now you are ranking them by ROI, throwdown, yeah, throwdown ROI. Um, but what I'd like to do, you see, is a little different. Now you get Varetnikov pulling up here, But now what I want to do now that I've run this is I want to take a look at what this whole thing looks like. So let's take the pool of 5,000 lineups. We want to download them all. Boom. And we want to take a look at what these all look like. Okay. And they could rate these in all these different ways. So we're going to go over a couple of things that you can do here. Now, again, you could have just, use the top ROI lineups, which is what, it was designed to do. But I found that if you just sort by ROI, you just don't get enough uniqueness. And now they've done better this year, I think, at getting a little bit better with the lack of dupes, but it's just still a little bit poor. So I think you have to gut it out a little bit more. Um, Let me just see something here. So well, here's the problem. Well, it's not a problem. So when you look at this, when you sort by sim dupes, like first of all, you'll notice that the highest amount of dupes it's going to give any lineup in here is 8. And I know that that's not going to be right. Okay. So we have to figure out what's going on. There has to be another way, like a better way to measure dupes than this, because we can't just play this way. Now, what we could do, obviously, is just take out everything with, you know, with less than however many dupes we want. But maybe it's better to do geomean filtering. So what geomean will do is it will force, the amount of ownership needed to get the amount of dupes that you want. Now, again, this presumes that that's the way you're supposed to play. Like maybe I'm supposed to play for 20 dupe trains or something like that, but I just don't feel like it. So how do we do that when we know that just sorting by dupes is not going to be good enough? Well, let's do some geomean filtering. And what that does is it forces in a certain ownership. So what type of ownership are we supposed to force in? Well, let's take a look at the contest. And you'll see it's got how many entrants? A lot, right? 26,000. So where's my geomean thing? Okay, geomean. So 26,000 entries, and there are 6 fighters per. Let's just say we only want 4, maximum of 4 dupes. Okay. So your geo mean that you want for your lineups is 23.1. So you can go back in here and you could sort by geo mean and take out everything that's above 23.1. Oh, I didn't sort them. Sorry. Geo mean, largest to smallest. And this is not easy, huh? Look at all this. 23.1 is tough. Something is there am I even good enough here? Am I even gonna come up with enough of them? Look at these geo means, they're frighteningly awful. Yeah, I mean, like very few even get you what you want to get as far as geo mean goes. So how else can you do this? Like your normal geo mean filtering should be enough. But then fortunately, we have another tool that we can use, and that's the PayDirt portfolio manager. Okay. So what we do with that is we take our lineup. So, well, let's first hold up. So let's get PayDirt portfolio manager up. And what we're going to do is we're going to insert our lineups in, and or at least a bunch of them, and it's gonna do. And PayDirt is the PayDirt portfolio manager is going to sort them by projected dupes. And this I have found so far has done a better job than SaberSim really at predicting dupes. So first thing we have to do is we have to update our lineups, put our lineups in here, and then we're also going to put our projection files in there. So the first thing we have to do is get this template filled out. Okay, and unfortunately, there's a little tweak that we have to make with this. So we can't even put in the player name. We've got to put in the DFS ID. God knows why I have to do that, but I do. So number, I just want to figure a number. I just can't get number general. I don't want any. I don't want accounting formats. Oh, just regular number. There you go. And then we're going to put in salary, which is here. Then our median projection, which again, I'm really, really confident in our median here. And then our ownership, and I'm very confident in our ownership. It's in here. And we'll save this portfolio projection template 14. And we will put this in here. Okay, oops. Right, good. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take um our top lineups and figure out how many of them we can really use. So we're not going to put all 5,000 in, but let's make sure let's take our top 500. Okay. So instead of 157, we'll do 500. Okay. We'll download these and let's just see how many of these have less than 5 dupes, or according to SaberSim. Excuse me, according to the PayDirt counter. let's see. So we have to change the format a little bit here. So we'll save this, and then we'll get back to Pater. We're going to upload this file. Oops. Boom. Okay. And then we will go manage portfolio. And then we can pick, first of all, select field strength. So let's say this is sharp for now. 25,000 looks about right. I don't want to put max acceptable dupes right now. I want to just take a look at it. Okay. So let's well, max acceptable salary, 60,000. Okay. We're not going to get to 60,000 because we're on DraftKings. But we're going to download this portfolio to this Excel spreadsheet here. And as you'll see, like this looks like a much more realistic dupe predictor here. Like these are the types of numbers you get in um in UFC. So let's this is like duplicated here. So let's data filter and let's sort by dupes. And here we're going to want to take out these that are more than five. Okay. Um, so now we have 5 dupes or less. And what you're then going to want to do is take the top performers of these. So what do you want to do? You want to do the top median projection? No, probably not. You're probably going to want to take the one with the best win percentage of these. So let's just take these. So these are all less than 5 dupes. They were good they were good lineups too, right? Because they're from the 500 well sim lineups. But we just did a little bit of dupe medication over here. So I'll take these 150. And put these in. And unfortunately, what I don't want to do is I don't want to see who we have. When you do that, as I mentioned, that's when you start, going with biases over process. So again, I mentioned earlier that, I'm going to make sure I get a certain amount of bread. I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm just going to just go with whatever this is. But what I will do is I will do the big buy-ins live here. So we'll build those. So let's do that. Let's what we're going to do, just so I remember what they are, is I'm going to put the same lineup in all these so I'll know. Save this. We'll put all these in, and then we'll go. So this is not what I usually do, like just do the hand build, but let's do it. So that's pretty much all I'm doing as far as the the big GPP is I'm using my contest fields. And then I am sorting using pay dirt by dupes and then resorting by win percentage and just kind of going with that. So again, I'm not going to look exposure. That's for the week. I know that I did it right. So what should I care? If you challenge the outputs, you know what I mean? Don't complain about the outputs if you're confident in your inputs. So let's go then though to MMA. You'll see one with 8 lineups. Okay, so here. So this one's got so we have to figure out what our big buy-ins are. So as I mentioned, okay, I think that Brandon Allen is a tremendous leverage play. So if we start with him and then we play the other good leverage play, what I thought was Walker, then we could probably get pretty chalky like the rest of the way. Right? So what are some of like just kind of like the good plays that we know? I mean, pretty much either of these guys from the main event looks good. Aslan over Kutalaba. So we can afford to play like even the favorites over here. So probably want to play one of the you could even play Abdul Malik in this team. You know what I mean? Um, and you probably want to play somebody from the main event. So let's play if you played Cejudo, for example, then you could play even another. Like you could even get to Silva if you wanted to, or Bukat. So this actually, something like this would actually be really contrarian. You know, this is probably even too contrarian for a whatchamacallit, for a big buy-in. And this is way too much, way too way too much contrarianism. But what you can do is you could play Son Yadong instead, and now you can be, a lot more circumspect here. So where's somebody from the Kutalaba fight? So this is actually pretty good. We already played some of the Kutalaba fight. You could play one of these guys. You could play Feely or Costa. This looks actually pretty good. Either one of these guys. So you have two pretty heavy duty leverage guys. Right? And then let's take a look at this Feely inside the distance line here. Let's just make sure that let's see. I think Feely has the better inside the distance line, right? Let's make sure about that. Feely inside is plus 320. Yeah, so he's got the better inside the distance line, so we may as well take him. So this is actually pretty good, like for our big binds. Let's not put it in the throwdown. We'll put it in these others. And the way I kind of work around is this is like the most leverage because I'm putting both of these, whatever. So instead of playing Walker here, then we'll play Menafield, like, in this team. And then so instead of Song, we could play Cejudo here. And then instead of playing Feely, we could probably get up to somebody else. Yeah, like you play Matsumoto if you want to. Okay. Um, and put that in this one if you want. And then instead of playing Allen, this one you play Hernandez. And you got to take 800 off the table. This was easy. Then you could just play Cejudo. And then this one you could just go down to Costa, like for example. Totally reasonable. So we'll put that one in one of these. And then let's say you want to do both Hernandez and Metafield. Then now you probably almost have to go Cejudo for sure. And you can't play him anymore, probably. Probably have to go down to, well, you could play Vanderfort. That's pretty easy. Right? So this is an easy thing to do, for example. And as I mentioned, I mean, you don't have to play, then you can play Kudalaba here instead of like these are the key fights that you're messing with, right? So you play him and then here instead of Walker, you could even get up to, another. Here's another Vanderfort. You can go do this if you want. And then where's the last one that we didn't mess around with? Let's take another non-Malik team. We'll put in maybe Ruzaboa makes some sense, I guess. And then instead of Walker, we could again get up to Vanderhoff again. So again, playing the big buy is not particularly obtuse. Let's put it that way. All right, that's gonna do it. Good luck everybody tomorrow. Again, I'm probably not gonna be around. I'll be at Mohegan Sun actually watching Billy Joel. Hopefully not die of old age on the stage. But we are going and enjoying. And you guys have a good weekend, and I'll catch up to you later. Bye bye.